विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मंत्र नंबर 7, 6 and 7। तस्माद्रुचः सामयजुंषि दीक्षा, तस्माद्रुचः सामयजुंषि दीक्षा। यज्ञाश्च सर्वे क्रतवो दक्षिणाश्च, यज्ञाश्च सर्वे क्रतवो दक्षिणाश्च। संवत्सरश्च यजमानश्च लोकाः, संवत्सरश्च यजमानश्च लोकाः। सोमो यत्र पवते यत्र सूर्यः, सोमो यत्र पवते यत्र सूर्यः। तस्माच्च देवा बहुधा सम्प्रसूताः, तस्माच्च देवा बहुधा सम्प्रसूताः। साध्या मनुष्याः पशवो वयांसि, साध्या मनुष्याः पशवो वयांसि। प्राणापानौ व्रीह्यवौ तपश्च, प्राणापानौ व्रीह्यवौ तपश्च। श्रद्धा सत्यं ब्रह्मचर्यं विदिश्च, श्रद्धा सत्यं ब्रह्मचर्यं विदिश्च। In the previous mantra said, Yatra Suryaha, Yatra Chandraha. You know what it says? Somo Yatra Pavate, Yatra Suryaha. After death, the journey or the path of an individual is mentioned in the Vedas. It is twofold path. One is called Uttarayana Marga, another is called Dakshinayana Marga, southern and northern. In Gitaji's language, it is called Shuklagati and Krishnagati. Shukla means white, Krishna means black, dark. Or it is called Somaya, Chandra Marga or Surya Marga. That's what he says. Even the different paths for Jivatma to travel hereafter also has come from Ishvara. He created these paths. And now, continuing the same thing, Bhagavan says, Tasmad Richasam Yajumshi Diksha Yagnasya Sarve Kratavo Dakshinasya. The word Veda, we should know this, comes from the root vid gnane. It is a book of knowledge. Veda is a knowledge. And since our parampara, our religious Pramana Grantha is Veda, therefore we are knowledge-based traditions, not simply faith-based. Religious leaders from various faiths, that's how they address us when I go to conferences. I am not a faith religious leader, I am knowledge-based. And with the labhe, to gain. What knowledge does the Vedas give? Knowledge of the truth. Truth of what? Truth of everything. There is another contention going on to dismantle Hindutva. What is Hindutva? Hindutva is knowing the truth and living the truth. The ultimate goal or the purpose of that, Hindu life is to know the truth. And please note and tell this. We have to tell to people. Our code also says, Supreme Court, our religious leaders, some of them even religious leaders, social leaders, popular yoga leaders, political leaders, they all say Hinduism is a way of life. No. It is a vision of truth. And to gain the vision of truth, Vedas gives way of life and vision of life. What is vision of Hindu life? Vision of life is ultimately there is only one Purushartha, that is moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kama and moksha. All these three Purusharthas are subservient to moksha. That is vision of life. Human life is meant for moksha. And all these ashramas are also for moksha. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and ultimately Sannyasa. Sannyasa is meant for truth, discovering the truth. So it is well designed vision of life and way of life based on vision of truth. So Hinduism is vision of truth. And what is the truth? Truth of what? Truth of everything. And the truth of everything means that it was, that it is, and that it will be in the future. What is known and unknown also. And what is possible. You know what the science is? They try to know the nature. And technology is collapsing the possibilities, probabilities of different principles that they know and create a new thing for the comfort of the human being. They collapse the possibilities. So what is known, unknown, and what is possible? Everything, cause of everything. And what is that cause? That cause is only one thing. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. There is one non-dual divine. That's a vision. And there is a whole teaching tradition of communicating this vision. And in that tradition, I am proud to say this. To question the teacher is a fundamental right of every student. Including when Lord Krishna, Bhagavan, took incarnation and assumed the role of a teacher. He was cousin to Arjuna, good friend to Arjuna, and after all, brother-in-law. He was his brother-in-law. This Krishna's sister was married to Arjuna. But when that Krishna assumed the role of a teacher, Arjuna had every right to question him. And I add this. To answer the question to the satisfaction of the student is fundamental duty of Hindu teacher. True, I have to add a clause. There are different motives of questioning. Sometimes people question us. When I throw open the question answer session, they question to prove that what they are thinking is right. They want a validation rather than correction. And some people question me to falsify the teacher. You are wrong. They work with a prejudice. But to question with a jignasa, with a desire to know, is right. Even after, look at this, even after Krishna showed him the cosmic form, Vishwarupa Darshan, he never threatened, hey, shut up, believe in me. You are doubting Thomas, go to hell. No, he didn't say that. You are not doubting Thomas, you are right to question. So there is a teaching tradition to reveal the truth. It's very logical. It is true beyond logic, but not illogical. It is logical. And then they say, Hinduism we want to dismantle because it is non-scientific. What is science? If I define this, science is nothing but finding the cause-effect relationship. Every discipline of science is trying to find a cause of a given phenomenon and trying to create effect of new phenomenon, like mixing medical. They are trying to find out the cause of COVID, and therefore this COVID-19 virus and malaria virus and typhoid virus and cholera virus, and then they find out another medicine chemical which can kill them. That's how cause effect goes. These scientists are trying to discover so-called scientists, cause-effect relationship of a given field. Physicists will try only for particles, and botanists will only plant kingdom, and zoologists only animal kingdom. We are talking about the cause of everything. It is the most scientific and completely scientific. Everything else is inscientific because they are doing segmented research. Anyway, coming back to this, our Vedas, they reveal the truth of everything, cause of everything. And the cause of everything is one non-dual, if I use the English word, divinity. Our word is Advaitam Brahman. One non-dual Brahman is a cause, but you can say one non-dual divinity as well. That knowledge gives you a gain. With the labhe, with the gnane. You know and you gain. What you gain? That non-dual divinity is a truth of everything. The word everything includes me also. That is the truth of myself. And this so-called sinner, born sinner, gains the divinity, discovers the fact that I am born divine. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Muktosi. Chidananda Rupaha Shivohamsi. Even Bhagavan tells this in Gita. Apichedasi papebhyas sarvebhyas papakrittamaha. You are the sinner. Papaha and papam, there are two words. One means the person, another means the sin person. If you are a sinner, what kind of sinner? Papakrit, you are doing sin. Papakrittaraha means superlative sinner. And papakrittamaha, you are the best among the sinners, an ultimate sinner. All terrorists and all politicians and all lobby chiefs, business put together and made one out of you. Even if you are such a great sinner, sarvam gnana plavenaiva vrujinam samtarishyasi. You shall cross over the entire ocean of samsara, entire this ocean of papas, without confession. Okay? Without anything. Why? Gnana plavaha. By simply the raft of knowledge. And what is that knowledge? You discover that I am always pure. Even while I was doing papam, I am nitya shuddha. Papam was born out of self-ignorance. Exactly like in the dream when you wake up, even while you were doing papam, you were nitya shuddha. What is a labha? Labha is discovering the fullness, discovering the divinity that is my true nature, that is Veda. So, in this way, look, according to what Veda Vyasi did, he is a Badrayana Vyasa, but he got a title, Veda Vyasa. He compiled together the Veda mantras having same nature, means Niyata Pada Akshara Matraha Rugveda. where pada means parts of the sentence. I don't know what's the translation of pada. Matras, swaras, etc. And the whole meter is niyat, is definite. That is Rigveda. Aniyata padamatra aksharaha Yajurveda. Yajurveda is a Veda where those mantras, meters, swaras, letters are aniyat. It's not definite. And Giti Pradhanaha Sam. The mantras that are sung, they were put together. That Veda is called Sam Veda. So, but understand, all these Vedas, Veda is Gnane Labhe. Veda gives the Gnanam of the truth and it gains you Labha. You gain this. What? Divinity. So, only the meters and the swaras and matras, etc. change. What they reveal is this non-dual Ishvara. That is you. So he says, Bhagavan says, in other words, when Bhagavan said, or when we say, mantra says, Tasmad, from that Purusha, or from that Akshara, these Vedas have come, meaning thereby, Purusha revealed himself through Vedas. Understand? Ishvara revealed himself, his nature, through Vedas. Not he revealed the mandate through Vedas, do's and don'ts. You have to do that and don't do that. That's not our Ishvara. He revealed the Swarupa of himself through Vedas. And therefore, we have a word, Veda Bhagavan. And in some of the temples in India, though I have not seen in US, I think somewhere I had seen. There is a book. I mean, a book. The marble is carved in the form of book, and it is written on Veda Bhagavan, and they do worship because it's self-revealing. And then he says, it is talked about karmanis, various. He says kratavaha, yagnascha, kratavascha, various yagnas and various kratavas. What are yagnas? Yagna means three things: Agni, Veda mantras, and oblation and Yajmana. Yajmana himself can be the priest if he knows the Veda, may do, or you may have some priest and they do. But Veda mantrochara, chanting of Veda mantras, and proper oblation at a proper time, in a proper way, at a proper place, that's yajna. You can, what they call it, fire ritual. That's okay. But yajna is yajna, okay, not fire ritual. Hindus have many fire rituals. Even burning the body is also fire ritual. That's not yajna. But anyway, they have this translation, fire ritual. And kratu. Kratu means when there is a hexagonal post is created, the piece of log is created first, and where sometimes the bali is kept there. That post is there, dug and fixed. That is called kratu. And this yajna necessitated certain religious vows. That is called diksha. Okay. Before performing the ritual, one has to adhere to certain niyamas, commit oneself to certain maryadas, certain limitations, certain penance, and certain things to be done as a satellite karma to the main yajnas, etc. All that is called diksha. And he says, diksha yagnascha sarve kratavaha dakshinascha. Then dakshina is also there. Dakshina means there is a vidhanam. There is a clear mention in this yajna. Shastra says very clearly, yajna is completed only when dakshina is given to Brahmana. They take a sankalpa Dakshina yatha mishthanena dakshinadhanena tarpayishyami. They say, I'll satisfy all the Brahmanas by giving them feast, mishtana, a sweet dish, and dakshina. So it's a part, yajna remains incomplete without you offer to the Brahmanas, those who did for you. Those niyamas of dakshina were given. Then samvatsarascha kala. Kala is also part of yajna. In the beginning we saw Vedanga, Shiksha, Kalpa, Niruktam, Chandasa, Vyakaranam, Jyotisham, etc. Jyotisham is Kala Gnan, Kala Parigarana. So there are certain muhurtas, certain time for certain particular yajnas. So therefore Kala becomes Anga of Veda study. Jyotish becomes Anga of Veda study. So when the word Kala is given, therefore it says Karmanga. It is a part of karma. Yajamanascha, the doers, individuals. And then he says, Samvatsara Yajamanascha Lokaha Somo Yatra Pavate Surya. And he continues further. He says, 7th matra, he says, Tasmacha Deva Bahudha Samprasutaha. The presiding deities, Bahudha, varieties of deities, they are prasutaha, samprasutaha. Please understand what is Devata. Ishvara can be looked upon as Devata, or Devata can be looked upon as manifestation of Ishvara. When we say Ishvara is omnipotent, Sarva Shaktiman, that power, Shakti to create, it is not simply Shakti to create, Shakti to sustain also. Shakti to create is easy comparatively. like they say, to get married is easier than maintaining the marriage. It is the irony of our Hindi movies is they teach you that you must get married to your beloved one. But the love marriage, you fall in love. That's all the essence of our Hindi movie stories. Hero and heroine has to fall in love. And another thing is they have to sing a song. That's a typical Hindi movie. And they have to run around. And in the song, heroine will be running faster than the hero. He cannot catch her. and then villain has to come. And some dishum has to take place, fighting. And ultimately, union of hero and heroine. They have been teaching this at least for 50 years, I know. But they never taught what happened thereafter. They got married, but thereafter lived happily forever is a question. Anyway, so Srushti Karta is one thing, Utpatti Karta is a Srushti Sthiti Kartascha. That requires a Shakti to maintain the harmony, maintain the system, maintain the ecology. And destruction also requires power. So that Shakti, Sarva Shakti, total power, manifest in various forms. You can use these words, Shakti manifest in various natural phenomena. So all those natural phenomena can be looked upon as devatas. Therefore we say Vayu Devata, Agni Devata, Surya Devata, Chandrama Devata, etc. Various devatas, they got manifest. Then Vani says, Manushya Tasmacha Devaha Bahudha Samprasu. They are part of the rituals. The offerings are offered to given devatas. But please understand, the Shakti of the Devata, given Devata, is not its soul. I can look upon Surya as Bhagavan, or I can look upon Surya as manifestation of Bhagavan. Either way. So therefore we call it Devata. Exactly like a minister enjoying some power. Suppose the home minister or revenue minister or education minister, or whatever. That power ultimately belongs to chief minister. So when chief minister resigns, the whole council of ministers stands resign. He does not collect individual resignations from the ministers and then submit my resignation also. All the power to run the states are vested on the chief minister or the prime minister. Similarly, all the powers of Ishvara. But then again, he as though gives these powers or expresses as though in the form of Surya, etc. So we can look upon them as a devatas. Those devatas, karmanga bhutaha. And when we invoke devatas, we invoke that particular power, that particular shakti. Samprasudaha. They were born, these devatas. Acha. Then sadhyaha. Sadhyaha means another group of devatas. As they say, when you use the word God, in English, devatas means they sometimes use the word God. And for Ishvara, they use the word Lord. That's how the fusion is possible in English. But we have, there is no substitute for Devata and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is Bhagavan, that you can say loosely the Lord, and Devata is gods. But sometimes they use God also for Bhagavan. But let us use the God for Devatas. And there are some demigods and semi-gods, etc. That Manushya Devaha and Gandharva Devaha, there is mentioned in the Shastras. All those, the Sadhya Deva Visheshaha, Devatas, so different categories of Devatas were created. They are called Sadhyaha. Understand? Sadhya means different categories of Devatas. Then who created? Manushya, Pashavaha, Vayamsischa. Manushya, human being, then Pashavaha, animals. Vayamsihi, Vayamsi means birds. So all living beings, sentient beings were created. Small varieties of species. Then he says, Prana, Panau. Manushya has those Pancha Pranas. They are also their creation of the Lord. Vrihi Avau, those oblations. Havi Artho, those things which are necessary for oblations in the yajnas, that is also created, got created. Tapascha Shraddha Satyam Brahmacharyam Videshcha. Okay, Vrihi means barley, rice, and Yavaha means barley. Rice and barley, except means all food grains were created. So there are two types of offerings in the yajnas. One within the yajna, where the fire is there, and one outside the fire, like breaking coconut and all those things, offering some sacrifice. There are both offerings. So when it says Vehi above, both the types of offerings were created. And then he says, tapas, okay? Both the tapas means what? You deliberately accept some inflictions upon yourself. For Ishvara, that is very important. Keeping in mind Ishvara as an offering to Ishvara, you do some restraint. It may be afflicting to your body or mind, but to adhere to certain restraint for Ishvara. That's a tapas. You see, exactly like to do dieting and eat only once, not to eat in the morning or eat in the night only. I am on diet, they say. And the fellow then says, I am fasting today because it is Thursday. There is a hell of a difference. This dieting is done for myself, for my health and whatever reason, or for my figure or whatever. When fasting is done, it is for Ishvara, the center. Keeping in mind Bhagavan you do. So that is tapas. All upasanas. And the objective behind tapas also makes two divisions. All the tapas with some specific kamana, specific desire of artha kama dharma. That is also one kind of tapas. And tapas for moksha ichha is a different tapas. You see, I would like to tell this here. People do talk about Western culture and Indian culture and all that. It's a lot of coffee table talks and dining table talks are going on everywhere. And more so in the West, somehow they get fired up to talk. Maybe they are working in BCA, Boston Consultancy, so they want to advise rather than do themselves. So they keep talking. Tapas, difference between these two cultures is we were tapas-centric culture. Our culture, Hindus were committed to varieties of tapas. Tapaha was a part of Hindu way of life. Not do the pleasures as much as you want. The life was full of tapas. Even the whole ashram of Brahmacharya was tapas. Grahastha, which has some freedom of which the Shastra gives them as a mandate of dharma to have certain pleasures, they are also doing tapas, Hindus. You will find Hindus doing this fasting and Chandarana Vrat and Chaturmasa and all kinds of tapas, Maunam and all that. Because there was a value. So if you are practicing Hindu, they have to be tapasvi, somewhat tapas. Please inculcate the value of tapas in the minds of your children. That is very much necessary. That's what Indian culture is. And when they want to dismantle, and another commitment was knowledge. Look at this. 75% of the life was lived for this. Brahmacharya ashram means Gurukul Vas and tapas. Krishna did, even though he was Bhagavan. All the sons and the prince used to go to Gurukulam and do tapas and to live a life of a commoner and do seva. Vanaprastha ashram is tapas. And sannyas is also tapas. 75% of the life is only tapas and gnana. Brahmacharya means study, sannyasya shravanam kuryat, vanaprastha means upasanas and shastra mananam chintanam. So we were committed to knowledge, committed to tapas, and committed to dharma. Living a life of dharma itself is tapas. Means performing the duty, doing what is to be done. That is Hindutva. When they want to dismantle, that means they want to dismantle the knowledge from the society. They want to dismantle kartavya from the society. And they want to dismantle this tapas from the society. This is all non-thinking, a misunderstanding or with some other agenda. Anyway, coming back to this, tapascha karmanga bhutam purusha samskara lakshanam cha. Maybe part of the yajna or maybe for purification or some kam ichha or artha ichha. Then he says, Shraddha Satyam Brahmacharyam Vidisha. Please understand, Shraddha. What is the definition of Shraddha? Shraddha is astikya buddhi. That means Shraddha is not only required in Shastra. Shraddha is all the way in human life. And that is a balam. Therefore, Bhagavan says in Gita, Shraddha mayoyam purushaha yoyat shraddhasa evasa. We are full with Shraddha. Every moment there is Shraddha. When I write exams, there is Shraddha. I am a good mark. I will get admission into good university and I will study well and I will get a good spouse. And when I have a children, my child will be born healthy and they will study all the way Shraddha. Even while doing a karma, there is Shraddha that I'll get the necessary desired karma for. That is always there. So, Shraddha and Satyam, Brahmacharyam, Vidishya. Look at this. Bhagavan said, I created Satyam. You know, what is the definition of Satyam? This is very important and very revealing. Bhashyakara writes, wherever the Satyam comes word in the Upanishad, he would write this. What is Satyam? He says, Andhrita Varjitam Yatha Bhutartha Vachanam Cha Apidakaram. You're not to speak truth. You're to stop speaking untruth. Andhrita Varjitam. That which is devoid of untruth or half-truths, or that which is devoid of any window to see untruth in it. Like that Yudhishthira statement, you know, Ashwathama Hata Narova Kunjarova. That give a window of untruth to believe in something which has not happened. Andhrita Varjita, devoid of untruth, Yatha Bhuta Artha Vachan. Whatever is or whatever happened, you speak only that. That is Satyam. And then this third word, Apidakaram cha. That should, my speaking truth should not be giving pain, should not be hurting anyone. Somehow people think when they speak truth, they have license to hurt. You know, and so much so, in our vernacular language, there is a proverb, Satya to hamesha kadvu lage. Truth always tastes bitter. How do you know? Truth doesn't taste anything, you know. They say, but truth is not bitter, not even sweet. Truth is truth. How you put it is more important. How you speak is more important. Therefore, our Shastra says, Satyam Vada, but then Priyam Vada. Hitam Vada, what is beneficial, what is useful. Satyam Apriyam Ma Vada. We don't speak the truth which is hurting, which is not hitakari. Keep mum, that's better. So, Satyam is created by Ishvara. And I have been telling again and again, this created word, though we use it, it means Ishvara manifested as this. Tasmat samprasuta. When you say gold, the ring and a chain and a bangle is created out of gold, that means gold alone is manifesting as ring and a chain and a bangle, etc. Understand? What I'm driving to you, listen this carefully. Satyam, Shraddha, Brahmacharyam came from Ishvara. That means Ishvara manifested as all these. So when you hold truth in your life, you are holding Ishvara. When you surrender your likes and dislikes, when you surrender your fancies, when you surrender your kamecha, when you surrender your arthecha, when you surrender your dharmecha, your desire for dharma, artha, kama, true satyam, that is a surrender to Ishvara. Understand? Surrendering to Ishvara just doesn't mean that you do Dirgha Namaskara, do Sashtang Pranam and go to temple. That is also surrendering. But then surrendering means I adhere to truth. Holding on to truth he is holding on to Ishvara, because from Tasmat Ishvarat, and then he says Brahmacharyam. Brahmacharya means certain maryadas on instincts, basically. That is Brahmacharya. Vidhischa. Vidhi means which is to be done, ought to be done. That is called Vidhi, Avidhi. What is to be done or not to be done. You can interpret Brahmacharya as discipline in everything. Sarvatra ati varjayet. Nothing in excess in any which area. And I discipline myself and I perform the things in certain way. That is Brahmacharyam. And that doesn't mean rigidity. Sometimes Satyavadi, that's the person who speaks truth, and the person who follows discipline, they become very stubborn and very rigid. No. Bhagavan says, Yuktahara viharasya, Yukta cheshtasya karmasya, Yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati. No extremes, the middle path. That is called Brahmacharyam. And then Vidhi also, Vidhi means do's and don'ts. Means what? When you live with it, I told you, Hinduism is a vision of life and way of life. That way of life, certain boundaries are given by Vedas. And that is Ishvara's manifestation. So when you live in Ved Agnya, when you follow what Vedic way of life, Shastra Dashti, you surrender to Shastras, you are surrendering to Ishvara. And what is the meaning of Shastra? That is revealed by teacher. So we surrender not only to surrender to Guru, it means you are surrendering to ultimately Shastra. To live a life within the boundaries given by the Vedas is living life with Ishvara. You are surrendering your fancies, you are surrendering your notions, you are surrendering your desires to this. Mind may say, do this, I want to do this. And then Buddhi tells, no, this cannot be done and should not be done. This is what my Veda says. So my free will doesn't go by my fancies. My free will doesn't go by my desires. But I deliberately take the path of Veda, what is mentioned by Veda. And I use my free will to commit myself to Vedic ways of life. That means you are surrendering to Ishvara. That Vidhi is Ishvara. And I surrender to them. Look at next mantra. Sapta prana prabhavanti tasmat. Sapta prana prabhavanti tasmat. Saptarchishas samidas saptahoma. Saptarchishas samidas saptahoma. Sapta ime loka yeshu charanti prana. Sapta ime loka yeshu charanti prana. Guhashaya nihita sapta sapta. Guhashaya nihita sapta sapta. Sapta prana prabhavanti tasmat. Saptarchishas samidas saptahoma. Sapta prana prabhavanti tasmat. Saptarchishas samidas saptahoma. Sapta ime loka yeshu charanti prana. Sapta ime loka yeshu charanti prana. Guhashaya nihita sapta sapta. Guhashaya nihita sapta sapta. He says, Tasmat Prabhavanti. Sapta Prana Prabhavanti Tasmat. Tasmat Prabhavanti. From that are born. That means, yesterday I told you in conclusion, that Akshara. That means that Purusha. From that Purusha, Sapta Prana born. Here the word, will explain it. Here the word Prana means 7 apertures. Then Saptaha Archishaha, 7 flames of Yajna, which was mentioned in the first Mundaka. Then Samidaha Saptarchishaha, Samidaha, 7-fold objects, and Saptahoma, 7 types of oblations. Sapta ime loka, Yeshu charanti pranaha, in which Yeshu pranaha charanti, in which this face light up all the sensory worlds that are born. Sapta prana, sapta lokaha means all the 7 forms of apertures are born. Guhashaya nihita sarve. Nihita means are placed. Guhashaya means they resolved into, or they are placed into the cave, into buddhi. All this group of 7. It's a figurative use. As I mentioned earlier, while even talking about upasanas, Rishi is becoming poetic, So also there is a sapta poetic here. Generally, pranaha means prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, breathing in, breathing out, etc. We call prana. But here, prana means those 7 predominant apertures through which you contact the world. What are these indriyas? Which are they? Eyes, nose, tongue, etc. Ears. They are on the head. Most of our vyavara is conducted through these indriyas. These 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 4 nostril, mouth and skin or tongue. That becomes 7. Sapta prana. This is there. Bahispandate, through which you reach out and through which you come back. So all the 7 apertures through which you contact the world, which are placed on the head, on your face, they are called prana. Okay. Then Samida Sapta. When it's the oblations, 7 types of oblations. When you say Indriya 7 holes or 7 apertures, the respective Vishayas, the respective senses of perception or cognition, respective Vishayas are called Sapta Samida, oblations. Okay, means for ears, Shabda, for nose, smell, for eyes, form and color, for mouth, taste, etc. These 7 indriyas on the mouth, on the face, and corresponding objects of comprehension, they are called Sapta Samidaha and Sapta Homaha. And obviously, when you offer those sense organs to your offer sense objects to their respective sense organs, that becomes Homa. And when he said there are 7 indriyas, golakas, and there are 7 vishayas, so homas are also of 7 types. Acha. Sapta ime lokaha. Lokaha means golakaha. Though we refer this particular limb of my body as nose, we refer this limb as ears, we refer this limb as eyes, but they are not indriyas. They are not sense organ. If it was sense organ, then the deaf person should not have been born with ears. He should have a plain surface here, born deaf, because you are deaf. That's not a case. Dead person should be able to see, because the eyes are there here, and sometimes the fellow dies but with eyes wide open. So they are called eyes and ears and nose, etc., in a secondary sense. Why? In which way? The respect, that is, they are the seat of respective sense organ is referred by that organ in Vyavara. The seat where the Chakshurindriya resides and operates, where loke, where it sits and operates, that is this particular place, and therefore this part of the body in a secondary sense is called Chakshu. It is not Chakshurindriya, it is Chakshu. They are the eyes, but itself per se is not eyes. It is a golaka, location, where eyes sit and operate. This is where ears sit and operate. This is where Granendriya sits and operates. Right? That's a golaka, sthana. Indriya sthana. So, that is called saptalokaha. This golakaha. And the 7 loke are also born out of Ishvara. And he says, Saptalokaha, different lokas. I have told earlier, this lokas is karma phalas. Lokyate anubhuyate iti loka. Different fields of experience are born out of the same Ishvara. And then he says, Yeshu pranaha guhashayaha nihitaha sapta saptaha. These 7 words in the form of different approaches, which are like 7 flames which consume 7 types of sense object, 7-fold sense object, and they all resolve into buddhi. And therefore they are grouped as 777. Buddhi resolving into buddhi means what? Though we say eyes are pramanam for forms and color, Chakshurindriya per se doesn't recognize. It is a buddhi who tells this is white, this is red, this is yellow, this is hot, this is cold, this is sweet, this is sour, etc. Therefore, they say there is all into buddhi. And then he says, what is buddhi? Guha, ya. Guha shaya nihitaha. They operate or exist in this sharira through buddhi. Okay? And all that created by whom? Tasmat, from that Purusha. Which Purusha? Shankaracharya ji very nicely says, Tatchat etat parasmadeva Purushat sarvagnat prasutam iti prakaranatha. The essence of all this discussion is everything has come forth from that Purusha, or everything is nothing but manifestation of that Purusha. Okay? Purusha is the one who manifests as all this. Sapta Purusha. We'll conclude this tomorrow, next class, 9th and 10th. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।